Hello, 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 hello. Hello, Instagram. Hello, Facebook. Hello. Let me know if you're on, if it's your first time with us. Let us know where you're from. We'd love, 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 love to hear from you. Glad you are on. We'll give it a few more minutes and let people hop on. Awesome, awesome. I think we are in the clear, Facebook. You should be able to see me. Would you guys please, if you are on, hit that share. Let me do that as well. Hit that share. Let somebody know that we are on. If you are on Instagram, tag somebody on in. If you are watching the replay, you can still hit share and you can still tag somebody on in so they can go back and watch the replay. If you are joining inside of our Facebook group, hello, hello, hello. We are so, so, so glad to have you, to connect with you, and that you are partnering with what's going on with our coaching and consulting agency. So let me, like I said, let me share this right now on my own page. How it is Friday, y'all. I am so excited. I'm kind of proud of myself because, like, if you caught me at the beginning of the week, I talked a little bit about how I was challenging myself, and me doing this, going live each day for 30 days, has been how I decided that, hey, you got to push yourself past how you feel and you got to challenge yourself. And so that is exactly what I'm doing. So I'm proud of myself. Like, I made a week. I'm proud of myself, y'all. You just don't understand. Like, I'm proud of myself. This is going a week is it's an accomplishment, but it's also been a sacrifice. But it's been a word, like, it's been worth the sacrifice. Let's say it like that. It's been worth the sacrifice, most definitely. So today, let me turn off all of my, because I don't need no one calling and disturbing me while I'm online. Okay, let me turn off all my stuff today. We have a topic. We're talking about what is relationship anxiety. Now, this may or may not be something that you've heard talked about before. So if you have not, then you want to tune in. You may want to grab you something that you can take notes. If you have your phone, open up your little note section and take notes, or grab pen and paper. I always keep pen and paper around me. Especially when I'm doing trainings or when I'm listening to trainings, because in trainings, I feel like all the time. So I always keep something handy for me to take notes. And that is just a little advice for you too. When people are pulling, when you're listening to these things, when you hopping on a live or registering for something, grab something to take notes. You just never know when something is going to be said that you need to write down, and you may not go back and be able to capture that moment again. Or you something may come to you in that moment. So you always have a method of some way of taking notes, whether by phone or whether live. So today we're going to talk about relationship anxiety. I'm kind of excited about this one because I feel like it's going to hit home for a lot of people that may be dealing with some things in their relationships and don't know why they're doing it, or when they're even going into relationships, and why there's some angst there, and why you feel uneasy, and some things, some behaviors you might do that you didn't have language for. I feel like a lot of you will gain that on today. So again, hit share. Let us know where you're from. We always go back and check comments. So you'll probably get some comments from me after the live go off, or after, as the day go along. And that's okay. I may not be able to see comments, but I am so, so, so happy that you are here joining us on today. So what exactly is relationship anxiety? Well, let's go back. I don't want to jump too ahead of myself today. What is anxiety? The APA defines anxiety as an emotional or emotion characterized by feelings of tension, worriedness, thoughts, and physical changes, like, if your blood pressure go up. But if you have these intrusive thoughts, chances are you may be dealing with some some anxiety, or you always worry all the time. There may be some things that we don't necessarily count that it may be anxiety, but if you're always worried about it all the time, I know people who say they have a plan B and then they got a plan C to go with their plan B, and then saying a plan D to go with your plan. Yeah. If you're always having all those plans and backup plans, chances are you may be dealing with some anxiety and you do not know it. You do not know it. But if you're constantly worrying about the future, not just I got a plan, I got a plan for tomorrow because what am I gonna wear? But if it's to the point to where you're like you gotta do it, you're a little obsessive about it, you're a little compulsive about it, like your day is not gonna go right if you don't follow certain steps, or if you don't have a backup plan then chances are you may have some anxiety. And if you are struggling with anxiety personally, then of course it's going to show up in a relationship, right? I mean, these things don't just go away. We can't just say, okay, anxiety, sit over here. Now, a therapist can teach you how to tell anxiety to sit over there, and I got to do something else. That's the beauty of working with a therapist or a counselor. But chances are you in your own nature are not going to say, okay, anxiety, sit over there. I got to go, I got to go get up here and do this presentation, or I need to move forward with what I got to do. I need you to sit over there. I know I'm concerned about tomorrow. I know that, but I need you to sit. No, those are skills that typically have to be taught, have to be learned. So that is what anxiety. So what does anxiety look like when it shows up in a relationship? I'm going to give y'all some examples because I think the examples are probably going to hit home a little bit more than if I'm just sitting up here being clinical with you and it's going over your head. No, I'm going to give you some examples. So if you're in a relationship, let's say, you and your partner just got together, or you and your spouse have just gotten married, and all of a sudden you're wondering, I wonder how they really feel about me. I wonder what are they real feelings. Like, I know what they said, but I wonder if what they said is really what they meant. Or what if they really meant something else? Like, I know they love me, but what if they said that because they just want to do so and so and so and so, and they want to try to let's be honest, they're trying to get me in the bed or something. What if there's an ulterior motive to what they said? What if their feelings really not what their feelings and they really feel such and such? Okay. Or if you're the person that's always looking for that validation, you need someone to tell you, oh, you look good today. Oh, I like how you look. Oh, yeah, I appreciate you for doing such, for doing that. And people, and not saying that they shouldn't be polite, and people, your spouse or your partner should compliment you, because your partner, that's kind of part of the relationship. I like what I see, so I'm finna compliment you. Like, that's just how that goes. It should go. If they ain't never compliment you, then we got a whole nother issue going on. But anyway, if you're always looking for that reassurance, then you may have a little anxiety going on. Oh, here's another one. If you're constantly wanting to be around them and you don't want to be away from them, and you can't make a decision without them, and you just can't move without them, y'all do everything together, y'all dress alike, y'all go everywhere, you have no life outside of each other, you're clingy. Let's just be honest. You're clingy. You may be a little overbearing, a lot overbearing, depending on, what your partner say. You may have some anxiety going on. Y'all with me? I just want to make sure. I just want to see who my people are. You with me? Y'all with me? I think I want to do one more example. So what if you always spending time worrying more about the relationship? This is one, because I know some people that I'm like, oh, yes, that's them. Always worrying about the relationship, but not really spending time enjoying the moments. So I'm more concerned about planning the wedding than I am in actually planning the marriage. Or I'm always worrying about, the relationship, but not really enjoying that, hey, I get to really do life with this person. And I can actually be present in what we're doing in this moment without thinking about, well, what we're going to do the next moment? And what about our list? And how are we on accomplishing our goals? And where are we? And where are we? And what are we doing? And why are we at what we said? Back up. That's probably more about you than it is about them. Okay. So how anxiety shows up in relationship is two ways. It shows up in being the worrier, the overly anxious person. There's a word that we use. Let me see what it. If there's a word, I had my notes there. That's why I had to look down. But if there's a word that I'm looking for. It's anxious and it's avoiding. So now we're talking about attachment styles. Anxiety shows up in two ways. You're the clingy one, or you're the one that's, extremely independent. I can't trust nobody. Yeah, yeah. Avoidant, don't want to talk about feelings, don't want to deal with feelings. How you process your feelings is alone. I can't talk through them because I need to go do this on my own. I need to go. Or you're the one that always need to talk about problems, or you always need to be, it's kind of those two opposite ends of the spectrum. That's how anxiety shows up in the relationship. So what are some causes? Like, how did we get here? It's like, okay, Dr. Tiffany, like, I'm with you. I'm seeing this. I may, I already knew I may, have been dealing with some anxiety, but I didn't know that it might have been showing up in my relationship. But now that I know, how did I get here? Like, where did it come from? Like, where did this come from? I want to go over some stuff. I think I kind of hit at it a little bit when I started talking about attachment styles. Now, if you're not familiar with attachment styles, I want you to go Google it. They're like between 4 and 6 different attachment styles, depending on who you're looking at and what you're reading and all of that. But it's 2 different attachment styles. And what we talk about with attachment styles is really how a child was treated and how their needs were met and when they were growing up as a baby. Actually starts as a baby, and then it progresses throughout their childhood. How consistent were their parents or their guardians or whoever raised them? How consistent were they? Were they absent? Were they there? Were they overly like the helicopter parents? Like, what was their childhood like? What was their relationship like with their parent as children? Because typically what we find in therapy is what that relationship was like with the people who raised you or should have raised you. You typically model that in your relationships. It carries over. Like, it don't say, okay, this is how my mama treat me, but I'm going to be. No, typically those relationship patterns carry over, and you're married or you're in a long-term relationship, and all of a sudden all of these behaviors are showing up, and you trying to figure out why every time he leave the house, I'm calling his phone trying to figure out why you ain't answering your phone or why you ain't picked up. He at work. He can't pick up if he at work. Maybe he was busy and couldn't answer the phone. Maybe the phone was on silent. But what we see is because of the responsiveness or the lack of responsiveness from your parents or whoever raised you, those behavior, those abandonment, those rejection issues, the anxiety, that overly anxious behavior or that avoidant behavior because you don't want to be hurt, that shows up in your relationship. Okay, let's say this. You had a good childhood. Your childhood was good. Your parents were good. They were responsive. They showed up. They was at your meetings. They took you to where you need to go. They provided everything that you need. You didn't have to beg for it. You didn't wonder whether or not you were going to get it. Had a good childhood. What else could be going on? Have you had some other negative experiences since then? What about exes? Have you had some issues with exes in the past? Or have you had some other traumatic things go on? I think I've shared, if you don't know, I'm a 4-time sexual abuse survivor. Have you had some abuse go on in your life that maybe you starting to see some other behaviors that have developed about relationships, or some ideas that have developed about relationships? Or maybe some of your anxiety around whether or not they're cheating on you, because we've been talking about cheating this week. Is that because you were cheated on in the past? So have you had some experience in the past? Do you struggle with like low self-esteem and low confidence? And, do you have some of those things going on? Or do you just not know how to communicate? Maybe you didn't grow up in a family that talked about their emotions all the time, and you didn't know how to process it. You didn't even know what the word depressed means. Maybe in your family it was she just said she'll be all right. Or how did you deal with that? How were you taught? You may not have been taught to even know that it was okay to say, you know what, I don't feel like it today. Maybe that wasn't acceptable in your family. So maybe the communication is not there, and you don't have the words to even say how you feel. Okay, So now we know where it possibly could have came from. So now you got to do some, that's why you need your notes. So you can go back and say, okay, well, let me figure out where it came from. Like, I do act like that, but where did it come from? Let me process that a little bit more. Let me journal about that. There's a word, journal. Journal, y'all, journal. Let's journal about that a little bit later. Let me figure out where it came from. So what do we do now? Like, okay, now, we know. Like, I'm kind of walking y'all through a process. This is what therapy do. It walks you through a process. I'm walking y'all through a process. So now that I know, what do I do about it? Now that I know, kind of know where it came from, what do I do about it? What are some ways that I begin to deal with it? Number one, learn communication. Communication skills will take you a long way. Once you learn how to say, okay, this is how I feel, I just maybe I just need to talk to my partner about it. This is how I'm feeling. Can we really sit down and talk about it without it being blaming, without it being accusatory, without it being, I'm spreading my anxiety, because you can pass your anxiety on to people. That is a very real thing. You can do that. Ask me how. Message me and ask me how. I can tell you how it can be done. Sorry, IG, my phone was dying, but you good. It can be done. You can pass your anxiety. But what healthy communication teaches you to do is to own your feelings, take responsibility for it, and then learn how to communicate that to someone else in a very healthy way. So the first thing, you feeling all of this stuff, this anxiety, it's just to really communicate how you feel. This could be a simple communication. The person can say, no, that's not really how I feel. What I meant is, now when they say, this is what I meant, I don't, you have to accept that for what it is. So when anxiety tries to tell you, no, they don't really mean that, they lying, you have to learn how to shut anxiety up and say, no, this is what they meant. We can't read into what people meant. This is what they meant, unless you're discerning some other stuff. And if you're discerning some other stuff, then you need to listen to that. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. Intuition is a real thing. Listen to that. But the first step, learn how to communicate your feelings, and then teaching yourself to be present in the moment. Like, we don't sit with ourselves. I remember when I was little. Y'all, am I over my time? I'm almost over my time. But I remember when I was little, I would have to go play by myself. I would have to have moments where I was banded. I mean, I did something and lost TV. That's grounded. Grounded from the TV, taking responsibility. I got to take responsibility from when even I was 8 and 7. Having a moment, sorry. But I was grounded from the TV, and I had to learn how to deal with the quietness. We don't take time enough to just sit in quietness. We just don't do it. A lot of us don't do it because we don't like ourselves. We don't want to sit in the present. We don't want to be in the present because we really don't like what we'll see when we're quiet. I'm usually home alone throughout the day. I had a moment because I like to be home alone through the day. I work faster. I'm more efficient. My day goes by. I get more work done. Sorry, y'all. I'm having a moment today. It's Friday. I get more work done when I'm home alone. And I usually, it's quiet. It's quiet. I have no TV on. Maybe sometimes I turn music on, but sometimes I don't need to do that. I maybe listen to a message or something like that, but I usually am here and it's quiet. I can hear the humming of the air conditioner. That's just about all I hear, or the humming of my heater, because my heater usually is on. It's on right now. I don't care how many degrees it is outside. My heater on, because I don't want my feet to get cold. So that's usually the only thing that I hear when I'm home alone. But some of us just do not like to be alone. And let's face it, you do not like to be alone. You don't like to be alone. You don't like to be alone with yourself. I just realized that I did all of that and forgot to go live on Instagram. I have to go back and do it again. So learn how to be alone. Learn how to be alone. And then none of that works. You still feel it even when you're alone. You still may feel anxious, because some people, they have panic attacks sometimes. Like, you can get so anxious sometimes when you're alone, especially if you're not used to doing it, of your emotions are so overwhelming, and you hadn't been taught how to manage it. You have never been to therapy. You don't even know that you even have anxiety. You didn't even know what it was until we just had this conversation today. But you see some things. Now it's time to take it a step further and actually do some things about it. The anxiety didn't just appear out of anywhere, out of nowhere. It came from somewhere. It had to have come from somewhere. So a therapist will be an excellent person that will help you process that, not a coach. Not a coach. A coach should not be doing therapy with you. A coach should not be doing counseling with you. Coaching is very different from counseling. And it is perfectly okay to have them both. It is perfectly fine to have them both, because most therapists are not going to do what coaches do. I can talk to my clients, my coaching clients, very different from how I would talk to my therapist clients, because number one, in therapy, it's just different. It's just different. It's way more intense. Coaching is not designed to be that intense. It's not supposed to be that intense. So you have to have some certain level of awareness before you actually go into coaching. And there's different type of coachings, and we're not going to get in that. I actually focus on women who are recovering from relationship trauma. Recovering from relationship trauma. So that means that they may have had to do some bit of work, depending on what type of trauma it is. I don't do therapy. I don't do trauma therapy. That's not my role with coaching. That's not my role. So, but you do need to do something about it, or it very well can begin to destroy your relationships, or even getting in relationships. You may not even get into relationships because you're so afraid of getting hurt, and how it may be because of your experiences in the past. But all of that is a sign that there's some unprocessed stuff there that needs to be processed. I've gone way over my time on today. I do have a free resource. It should be popping up. Inside of the description box. If it's not, just let me know and I'll go back and post it in. But it's a 5 myths of difficult relationship. I call it a guide. It's really more like an ebook, but I call it a guide. 5 myths of difficult relationships and what you should do about them, because there's a whole lot of false information out there, and I wanted to take the time and really talk about some of that false stuff and give you some real tips from someone who not have just been through it. I've been through all kind of stuff. We ain't got enough time on this live for me to talk about everything that I've been through. I've did a lot of relationship stuff the wrong way, for my personal experiences and also from my training as a therapist. So the information on there will help you. And if you say, okay, I already know this stuff, then pass it along to somebody else. Send someone else the link so that they can download it. So really good information. And I'm also scheduling for one-on-one. I am taking one-on-one clients. So I do offer a free discovery call. It's a free 30-minute call. In order for that call to be effective, and I had some of you have already scheduled. Thank you for scheduling. Make sure that you put some kind of description at what exactly you're looking for. And what that does is help me to be able to prepare, but it also helps you to be able to know, okay, well, I want to focus on just this. Because during that 30-minute call, we can't fix your life. Like I'm not that young. I can't fix it in an episode. That ain't gonna work. She didn't do it in the episode either, y'all. She didn't do it in the episode either. Those episodes usually ended up spilling over, and y'all got a condensed version. But anyway, I can't fix your life in 30 minutes, but I can release some strategies to you and some tips and some things that you can do and begin to implement in your life in 30 minutes. And we can talk about what you can do past that point. So I love you guys. You guys have an excellent weekend. I'll see you back on Monday, 12 noon Central Standard Time, when we're tackling hard topics with simple solutions with Dr. Tiffany. I love you. Have a good weekend. Bye, guys.